Things I've Never Told Anyone, Part 1. I was 15 and staying the night with a couple friends. We went to the gas station to pick up some snacks, and we also got 2 dozen eggs. We went back to his house and waited for his parents to go to bed. We snuck out with 2 dozen eggs in hand. We each found really good hiding spots on each side of the road so no cars passing by could see us. It was an old country road, so not many cars drove by, but when they did, we would chuck eggs at them. We thought we were having harmless fun until one car we hit slammed on its brakes and blue and red lights turned. We were freaked out and didn't know what to do, so we took off sprinting. There was a nearby cornfield which we ran straight to. We split up and we ran trying to find a place to hide. After about an hour of just sitting in the cornfield with nothing to do, we decided to go back to the house. The cops actually knock on the door, we pretend like we're asleep, and fortunately my friend's parents didn't wake up. I was convinced we were going to get arrested and I was going to be thrown in jail. I was finally able to go to sleep, but you'll never guess what happened in the morning. Things I've Never Told Anyone, Part 2. You guys did not like that I didn't post Part 2 right away, and I'm so sorry for that. So we wake up in the morning and all is normal, or so I thought. So we go upstairs to eat breakfast, and there his parents were giving us that mean parent stare. We look at each other and are like, oh shoot. They asked us why there were empty cartons of eggs in the trash. We were quick on our feet and we said that we were throwing eggs at each other in the middle of the night as a game. Somehow they believed. So now that that was out of the way, I thought we were in the clear. We finish breakfast and head to baseball practice. I start walking towards the dugout and everyone is looking at me and all of my friends are laughing. I have no idea what's going on. I get into the dugout and my coach turns and looks at me. He points at me and says, "You have to get out right now." Well, come to find out, my friends drew all kinds of inappropriate things all over my face in permanent marker. I'm talking really inappropriate. I wasn't allowed to play in the first game of the season, and I couldn't wash it all off before school the next day. How sleeping in a basement almost cost me my life. I was paying for my own college and couldn't afford rent, so I lived in the basement of a friend's house. I only had the cot that I slept on and my clothes in a suitcase. It was very much like Harry Potter without the magic and without the wands. It's the middle of winter and very cold. I did not know that something crazy was about to happen in the middle of the night. I passed out like normal, and up until this point everything was fine. But then, I was startled awake at like 4 a.m. I had to rub my eyes a couple times because I couldn't believe what I was seeing. I thought I was in a dream. Sleeping in the basement story continued. Important things to remember. It's extremely cold, and it's 4 a.m. And I'm in a cot in the basement. I was actually startled awake by how cold I was. I was absolutely freezing, and I didn't know why, so I was woken up. I rubbed my eyes a couple times and realized that the ceiling looked a lot closer than it should. I still think this might be a dream. I look over off the side of my cot, and I see my suitcase just floating next to me. At this point, I realize I'm floating in ice cold water. I look over, and I see the main water pipe to the house is busted, and just water is gushing in. At this point, the basement's already halfway full. I yell for help from my friends, but they don't hear me. Not a great swimmer, but I know I have to get out, so I roll off the bed and I jump in the water. It's so cold, but I have to start swimming, so I start swimming to get over to the other side of the basement where the stairs are. I make it out of the basement, I tell my friends what happened, and we call an emergency plumber who comes and fixes it, but by the time he gets there, the water's already filled up the basement. I lost what little belongings I had, but I'm alive and well, but it's something I'll never forget. Things I've Never Told Anyone Before, Part 1. I was 10 years old and in the 4th grade. Every Friday, one of us would get to do show and tell in front of the class. It was my week. Since I was a nerd, I was excited about this opportunity to bring in something cool so that I might get some friends. I got home from school and I immediately started going through all of my toys. Yes, I still had toys. And then, there it was. The perfect item for show and tell. Or so I thought. Showed my parents what I planned on bringing and they gave me 2 thumbs way up. Little did I know I was about to get suspended from school. I go marching into my show and tell, just as proud as can be. Then my teacher, Mrs. Smith, says, "Jason, what'd you bring to the class?" I slowly unzip my backpack, reach in, and pull out. You're gonna hate me, but stay tuned for Part 2. Things I've Never Told Anyone, Part 2. So sorry it took a little longer to post Part 2. I had a friend unexpectedly go into labor and I had to help out with some stuff. So here I am standing in front of my 4th grade class for show and tell. I reach into my backpack and pull out a squirt gun that looks really real. I go pew 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 and completely soak everyone in the front row. People were laughing and I finally thought I had made some friends. My teacher immediately gets up from her desk, comes over, grabs my arm, takes me down to the principal's office. "Mrs. Smith, what did I do wrong?" We get to the principal's office and my heart is racing a million miles a minute. The principal comes in and is asking me what the heck was I thinking bringing that to class. I told him my parents said it was fine and that it was show and tell and that I just wanted to have some friends. He said that he would not tolerate this at his school and that he was suspending me for a whole week. And I had to go to counseling for the next 2 years, which completely ruined my plan to get friends because it made people make fun of me for having a counselor. Things I've Never Told Anyone, Part 2. It's 1:30 a.m. in the morning and we're launching water balloons from the top of a parking garage down to people walking across the street down below on campus. When all of a sudden, my buddy yells out, "The police are coming!" Now mind you, we're at the top of a parking garage and there's only one way down. We stuff the launcher in the backpack, all the water balloons we stuff in, and we try to start running down the stairs. But before we could get out, 2 cop cars block the exits on the top floor. They say they've received multiple reports of people being hit by water balloons on the street down below and they wanted to come. Unfortunately, we couldn't even deny it because my buddy Joe was still holding the water balloon launcher in his hand. They told us that he could arrest all of us and we could all go to jail. The problem was there were 10 of us and there were only 2 cop cars, so they couldn't take all of us down to the station. And they said we were idiots and we should never do that ever again, but that they would let us go. I would like to say that we didn't do it again, but We did. Things I've never told anyone, part 1. I was 6 years old and hanging out with a girl in our apartment complex while my dad went and ran errands. Normally, we'd make blanket forts and she'd want to play with her newest dolls. But today, she wanted to do something new. She said it was a surprise and that I should close my eyes. So I closed my eyes and she led me to her room. I thought it was some silly game that she had planned, so I went along with it. She let go of my arm and said, "Now don't open your eyes." She said, "I just got a new pet and I want to show you." Little did I know this was going to be very traumatic. I hear her moving stuff around and she keeps saying, "Don't open your eyes." I hear her come back in front of me and she's giggling a little. She said, "Okay, you can open your eyes in 3, 2, She starts screaming at the top of her lungs and I open my eyes. Stay tuned for part 2. Things I've never told anyone, part 2. First, if you guys would like to see me tell more stories, smash the like button. Okay, so remember, I'm 6 years old, I'm at the neighbor girl's house because my dad is running errands and she's about to show me her new pet. I have my eyes closed and she counts down 3, 2, before she gets to 1, she starts screaming, "Ah!" I open my eyes, and the first thing I see is blood just rushing down her arm. And then I see her pet hamster just latched onto her arm and she's shaking her arm trying to get it off. She's screaming and blood's going everywhere. I'm freaking out. I start yelling and I start sprinting back towards my apartment. I get to my apartment, but the door is locked because my dad's gone. I sit down and I start bawling my eyes out. My dad gets back soon after that. He's like, "What's wrong? What's wrong?" I told him what happened and said I never wanted to go over there again. To this day, I can't get the image out of my head of the hamster hanging onto her arm with its sharp teeth just swinging back and forth while she tried to let it go. And it might be why I pass out when I see blood.